Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, or as John Campea likes to call me, your existential Mr. Rogers, Robert Meyer Burnett, and this is the John Campea Mailbag for Wednesday, March 30th. 2022. As you know, on the John Campea Show live at 10 a.m. Pacific time, you can fire in super chats at the beginning of the show to be read live. However, 24/7, 7 days a week, you can also send us questions through our tip line link below. And if we deem them appropriate, we will read them on the mailbag. Give us feedback, give us commentary, give us criticism. Tell us what you love, what you don't love, what you want to see more of. We want to hear from you. And we're going to jump in right now and find out, well, what is on your mind? And we are going to start, oops, I forgot to bring it all the way back. We are starting with Raul. Sends in a tip and says, I saw you saying Will Smith's slap was not a part of his personality, but it got me thinking. Maybe it's not the first time he acted like that. Him getting the original Aunt Vive kicked out of his TV show, maybe she wasn't the crazy one after all. Well, Raul, I can't speak to that, but I would say this. As John says many times, you can't judge a person by their worst day. And by all accounts, Will Smith is quite fun to work with. He's a consummate professional. He's made some great films. He's been nominated for an Academy Award before. You know, I can't really speak to that. I think there's probably a lot going on in his life. I can't imagine the pressure one is under when you're nominated for an Academy Award. Now, this is not an excuse. In my mind, there is no excuse to resort to physical violence. It was a moment of weakness. But I don't know Will Smith well enough. Certainly, I don't really know him at all. I've only met him once in my entire life, and that was at a screening of the movie Valkyrie. They wanted his feedback, and he was a perfect gentleman to me, and I quite enjoyed meeting him. But you know, it's hard to say. I would never want to judge somebody that I don't personally know. I thought the whole situation was unfortunate, but, you know, I can't be the one to speak to that because I just don't know. Chloe Fanning says, hang on, let me get this here. Chloe Fanning, hang on, I can't quite get it straight. Chloe Fanning says, what movie would you like to see remade with a much deeper and darker take on it? Personally, I would like to see Robin Williams' movie 1 Hour Photo, directed by Mark Romanek, or similar movie made to it with a whole different scenario using a story similar to its story. Well, 1 Hour Photo is a great one, but man, Chloe, isn't that a little dark already? My God. What would I like to see remade with a darker take on it? That's a good question. I mean, a lot of the movies I already love are pretty dark. You know what just jumped into my head? The Disney movie starring Jodie Foster from the 70s, Candle Shoe, which was kind of a kid's movie, but what about a really dark take on Candle Shoe? I don't know why that popped in my mind. I don't even know if that's on Disney Plus, but it was an early Jodie Foster movie when she was just a kid. But I always liked it. That was the first thing that came to my mind. What that says about me, I don't know. Drunken Fist Bobby sends in a tip and says, did Will's actions hurt his son's chance at being Miles if he is him? Bob Chapek, Marvel executives and actors were there or saw what happened. Isn't hiring the Smiths now a liability? Wouldn't Miles Brown be better to play Miles Morales? Thanks. Well, Drunken Fist, I mean, you know, I don't presume to know what other people are thinking or what they want to do, but I will say this: you know, Will Smith is a very well-regarded actor. He's obviously a box office draw, and you know, he's tried to get his son a good career. They've worked together on things like After Earth, for better or for worse. But I definitely think maybe Jaden Smith's commentary on the heels of what his dad did. I mean, he was supporting his father, but still, you shouldn't condone violence. I don't know the answer to that, but I think it's definitely going to be a factor. When people hire somebody, you have to take everything into account. And clearly, there might be more going on in Will Smith's life than even we know, and that might have a part to play in it, although hard to say. I'm not sure about that. So, tough to say. I don't know. Big Will sends in a tip. Hey, John and crew, I don't know if you noticed, but the last 3 Bond films have won an Oscar. Yes, I have, as a big Bond fan. You noticed that too. I like that. But the last 3 Bond films have won an Oscar for Best Original Song. Adele's Skyfall, Sam Smith's The Writings on the Wall, and Billie Eilish's I Should Have Known. No Time to Die. What's your take on this? Man, I wish I knew how to sing. I do too. Clearly I don't, as you just witnessed. I would say this. The Bond films have always been known for their songs. I mean, all the way back to From Russia with Love, I Fly to You. Much wiser since my goodbyes to you. Okay, that's From Russia with Love. That was the first Bond movie that had an opening theme song. I think it was over the opening theme. And then, after that, I mean, that was back in 1963. So the Bond films have a long tradition of music. I think it's great. I mean, obviously the last 3 songs have been big songs. Billie Eilish's was a big hit. Skyfall was a hit. I'm not so sure about Writing on the Wall, but The Writing's on the Wall. But, I think it's great. I mean, it certainly is a tip of the hat to the tradition of Bond films. And I think the Bond music is important in cinema history. So I, for one, like to see that it happened. Big Will goes on to say, hey, John and crew, so Uncharted has nearly tripled its production budget, closing in on $360 million. I was disappointed with the movie. I think some Razzies are coming. I was too. But money talks. Do you think a sequel is warranted? How would you improve the sequel? Well, look, I think it should have better writing, more globe-trotting, and I would inject a little bit more of the fantastical in it. The game certainly has those incredible painterly backgrounds, and the settings are amazing. I didn't think it was adventurous enough, and I would like to see more of maybe a fantasy bent to it, a kind of cross between gritty realism and something that's more fantastical, and maybe a little bit more exotic lands that they look at. I don't know. But look, I think a sequel is going to happen. Obviously, it was the first film from PlayStation Studios to come out, so I'm happy it did well out of the gate. They're going to do the God of War series now. But look, I never like it when stuff isn't great. And if it's successful, it's good for everybody. So I really want it to be successful. So I hope it's great. I really do.
Hey guys, we want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of this video, Athletic Greens. Now, I started taking Athletic Greens because I don't eat enough vegetables, and I was looking for a way to make up for that deficit in my diet of those vitamins and minerals that I really need in my system, and thank goodness I found Athletic Greens, and I literally take it every morning. You see, with 1 scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, all the things. And my wife got onto it, and now she absolutely loves it. You know, tons of people take some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high-quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb, like Athletic Greens. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. It's just 1 scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/Campea. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Campea to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
How could he slap? Ooh. John, are you excited about the FIFA World Cup now that Canada qualified first time since 1986? Unfortunately, Italy didn't somehow. Look, we were talking about this today on the show. I can't believe we live in a world where there's a Moon Knight TV series and where Italy is not in the World Cup and Canada is. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. How does that happen? I don't know. I know we're actually I think we're kind of excited. I'm excited Canada's in there. I want to see what the Canucks can do. What can America's hat do in the World Cup? Wouldn't it be crazy if they were able to make their way through that tournament, and I don't think they'll get in the finals, but wouldn't it be cool if, I mean, can Canada beat Brazil? I don't know. We shall see. But it's cool. Dr. Nova sends in a tip. Oscars were a complete failure in 5 parts. 1, piss off people by saying they aren't important. 2, have that fail completely because you didn't save time. 3, make your show more pandering than the Golden Globes. 4, cut off the good parts with ads. And 5, the slap. Dr. Nova, couldn't agree with you more. I actually thought the overall show was far more enjoyable than last year's show, but still, they wanted to keep the show shorter. Look, the Oscars are about honoring the people that make movies. You know, variety segments, music. I mean, they added the Bruno song, which wasn't even nominated. To me, the reason that the show exists is to give out those awards to people that win the Oscars. Once you start compromising that, you start compromising the show itself. I know John and I kind of disagree a little bit on this, but I still think at the end of the day, it's got to be about the Oscars first and foremost. So I think, yeah, you're not wrong. I think it was a failure across the board. Dr. Nova goes on to say, if the Oscars keep doing shows like this, are they just ruining their reputation in exchange to get more viewers? P.S. It didn't work. This was the second lowest viewed Oscars since last year. I agree, but hey, it was not the first lowest. It was the second lowest, so the audience went up a little bit. But yeah, look, as I've said on the show, on the mailbag before, I think the problem is not necessarily the Oscars, the show. The problem is with how our culture now still views movies. Movies are now competing with video games, with TikTok, with YouTube, with all kinds of streaming. And I just don't think they're as relevant or as culturally the event that they used to be. That's the problem, not the length of the show and not the people that are giving the awards. The problem is the Motion Picture Academy needs Oscar revenue to keep going. Now they have the Academy Museum, which hopefully will generate revenue for them and offset what the Oscars aren't going to make. I think the Oscars need to completely renovate or rethink how they're going to present the awards. I think that has to happen if it's going to survive. Eric Rodriguez sends in a tip and says, if Will Smith slapped people like that back then, his mom would have never made him move to Bel Air. You're probably right about that, Eric. I like Rob's beard. Ooh, thank you. I appreciate that. Hi, John. What is more likely, Bob Chapek inviting you onto Disney's board of directors or Will Smith and Chris Rock co-hosting next year's Oscars? Well, I think everyone likes Comeback Story. I like Rob's beard. Thanks for that, by the way. I think the answer is Will Smith and Chris Rock hosting next year's Oscars. We shall see. But, man, hell freezes over. I never thought we'd get an Avengers movie. We got one. Never thought we'd get a Moonlight TV show. We do. Crazy. Cosmin Nicholas sends in 1 of 4. Hello from Romania. Disney Plus has set the release dates for a lot of countries. South Africa, May 18th. Algeria, Bahrain, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Morocco, Oman, Palestine territories, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, Yemen, and on June 8th, Albania, Andorra, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Croatia, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Greece, Hungary, Kosovo, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Malta, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Poland, Romania, San Marino, Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Turkey, the Vatican City, June 14th, Israel, June 16th, Faroe Islands, French Polynesia, French Southern Territories, St. Pierre, and McClellan Overseas Collective. I don't think I've ever said McClellan Overseas Collective. Åland Islands, St. Martin, Svalbard, and wow, Jan Mayen. Boy, I need to brush up on my geography. British Indian Ocean Territory, Gibraltar, Pitcairn Islands, St. Helena, June 14th. Can't wait for the actual launch. We, Eastern Europe, already got HBO Max on March 8th. Well, Cosmin, first of all, it was kind of fun hearing you say all those, or writing those names and having to say them, because it's amazing you forget that there isn't just like 10 countries in the world or 10 territories. So it's always nice to hear that. But that's fascinating. I didn't realize that Disney Plus was jumping in that much across the planet. Pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. I hope you're excited for it, man. You're going to dig Moon Knight and everything else they have on there. So Cosmin Nicholas, I'm happy for you. And by the way, thank you for supporting the channel. John Davidian sends in a tip and says, Part 1. Hey, John. The great Alan Moore. Oh, I love Alan Moore. When questioned by IndieWire about superhero films, said the following. I haven't seen a superhero movie since the first Tim Burton Batman film. They have blighted cinema and also blighted culture to a degree. That Alan Moore. Moore continued. Several years ago, I said I thought it was a really worrying sign that hundreds of thousands of adults were queuing up to see characters that were created 50 years ago to entertain 12-year-old boys. That seemed to speak to some, let's see, is there a part 3? Kind of longing to escape from the complexities of the modern world and go back to a nostalgic, remembered childhood. That seemed dangerous. It was infantilizing the population. This may be entirely coincidence, but in 2016, when the American people elected Trump and the UK voted to leave the European Union, 6 of the top 12 highest grossing films are superhero movies. Not to say that one causes the other, but I think they're both symptoms of the same thing. A denial of reality and an urge for simplistic and sensational solutions. My knee-jerk reaction is to dismiss his take as jaded and antiquated. However, as a titan of the superhero industry, is he touching upon a truism about our culture? Lot to unpack there, John. Well, first of all, I'm a huge fan of Alan Moore. His Watchmen comic is one of my favorite things ever. I love V for Vendetta. I loved his run on Swamp Thing. And, I've even loved his comics, America's best comics like Promethea, and Tom Strong, and a huge Alan Moore fan here. And his novel Jerusalem, I have right up here. Huge, read it, loved it. I think, though, that he's got a point. I mean, there is a reason why these superhero movies are so big worldwide, but I think he's forgetting that a lot of us grew up with these animated shows, and superheroes are part of there are modern mythologies now. And the superhero films we're getting from the MCU and from Warner Brothers are pretty damn good. And yeah, I think there's an element of truth in what he's saying. We want to believe that there are saviors out there. We want to believe that we could have a place where superheroes will come save us. In Alan Moore's world, when Rorschach asks or says, they'll ask me to save them and I'll say no. I mean, Alan Moore is dark and cynical. And I think he's not wrong, but he also doesn't allow for the fact that, look, superhero movies are fun. They're an enjoyable time. And with our world, we used to have such defined roles, especially, us dudes. You would grow up, you'd have a family, you have kids, you'd have to be a good husband, a good father. None of the traditional roles that used to exist now. So everyone is looking for some kind of stability in the world, and there really just isn't much stability. It's, if at all, is there any stability anywhere anymore at all? Not a lot of it. So I think that's what superhero films and superhero TV shows offer us, entertainment and solace from the craziness of the world as it is. But I don't think that's necessarily, I mean, people still read a lot. People are still watching very in-depth streaming shows. It's not like all entertainment has been infantilized. But superhero movies, remember, up until the last 20 years, the technology really didn't exist to give us all of these kinds of superheroes. They couldn't make these movies 30 or 40 or 50 years ago to the extent that they make them now, or with the credible, I mean, I remember, I love The Rocketeer, 1990s The Rocketeer. Which is The Rocketeer, kind of an early precursor to an Iron Man. And you go back and you look at it, love The Rocketeer, it's still a good movie, but all the flying effects that ILM did, they were beautiful at the time. They're quaint. And they're not what we get today. So I think that now we're going through a period of time where the superhero film has been able to be fully realized when that is a relatively new thing. So I don't think it's going to last forever. And we'll get back to different kinds of movies and something else will replace it. But I do think there's a lot of truth in what Alan Moore does say. Marcus sends in a tip and says, "Hi, crew. Is it just me or did all of Hollywood see G.I. Jane? I think Ridley Scott can thank Smith for a coming surge in streams and DVD sales, right? By the way, I remember Demi rocking that look mighty fine." Well, Marcus, I think you're right about that. I mean, I think, when G.I. Jane came out, it was kind of a hit, sort of. It wasn't a big movie. Demi Moore looked great, but she was looking fine. Sinead O'Connor was beautiful, singing "Nothing Compares to You" when she first broke on the scene. There's nothing wrong with a bald woman, and Jada Pinkett Smith is a beautiful lady, hair or not. I thought she looked sexy AF with that haircut or buzz cut. She looked great, and yes, I think Ridley Scott, I think G.I. Jane's going to get a resurgence. And you know what? It's not a bad movie. It's still beautifully made. G.I. Jane and White Squall are the two Ridley Scott movies people forget about. But hey, if there's more eyeballs on more of Ridley Scott's work, I'm all about that. That's cool. Patreon, Alexander Kent sends in a tip. "John, I saw that your channel has memberships. Congrats. I've already signed up. Do I need to stay a Patreon supporter, as I remember you saying it will be going away? My wife and I enjoy your content, as well as the perspective you and the crew," that's me, "bring. Listen, first of all, thank you for your continued support of the channel. Yeah, John is going to get rid of the Patreon because, as he put it, it did what it was supposed to do. And so it will be, in fact, retired. And so yeah, come by and come be a member. There's going to be more perks. He did a members town square today, which I haven't seen, but he's going to be doing that, which I think is pretty neat. So can't wait to see what happens with all the members. It's great to see people embracing the memberships, and I very much appreciate that you and your wife want to continue supporting the channel in that fashion. So I would say, come on, be a member of the John Campea channel. Worse Than Will says, "Hi, John, do you really feel the Will Smith incident is the ugliest moment in Oscar history, even more so than John Wayne trying to attack a female because she was a different race? I get it was a different time. I'm not excusing Will's actions, but come on." Well, first of all, that was, as far as I know, that was Sacheen Littlefeather, an indigenous person that Marlon Brando had sent up there to collect his Oscar after winning for The Godfather. Now, John Wayne, as far as I know, did not lay a hand on that woman, and he was upset because he saw the whole thing as a mocking of the awards, a mocking of everybody's work. Look, I think that John Wayne, I think, was reacting to the moment at the time the same way that Will Smith was, but there was something about watching Will Smith. He laughed at the joke, he thought about it, made a choice, walked up and struck Chris Rock, walked back down to his chair, and then said twice, "Keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth." At any moment during any of that, he could have calmed himself down, had some self-control. And now, I am not one to judge. I leave that up to authorities and powers greater than me. But from my perspective, it goes against everything that I was taught my entire life, how to conduct yourself. And make no mistake, the Academy Awards are a business, and you are at work when you're at the Academy Awards. Will Smith was on the job. Even though it was an award show, he was representing his film, he was representing his crew, he was representing the director, he was representing the studio, and he basically struck someone in the workplace. I don't know if it's worse, but it's certainly one of the ugliest moments I can remember in the Oscars. I'm not saying that John Wayne's wasn't bad, but I didn't see that moment. I watched videos of it. This I thought was particularly ugly. Yvonne L. sends in a tip. It says, "Hey, John and Rob, I just watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I have to say it's pretty quirky and funny, and it has a lot of heart. I love that they have Evelyn switching between 3 languages at one point, something that I see more often at home than in an American movie. Also, if anyone tells me that they landed an award for something, it's going to bring me back to this movie. Laugh out loud. Have a great day. Well, Yvonne, I can't wait to see this. I love Michelle Yeoh. I love the idea behind this movie. I honestly, by the way, I too am drinking a little Zevia here. This is cream soda, Zevia cream soda. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see the film. I mean, I really am pretty stoked to see it. And I look, it looks great to me. And John loved it. He said it might be his favorite movie of the year. And it looks great. I love the whole concept. So we shall see. I'm going to go see it. I'm in the middle of this move, but as soon as I'm done, I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it. The Sock. Just one sock. The sock says, I watched The Descendants and Straw Dogs for the first time. I also saw Nightmare Alley, fantastic movie, and X. They made the old couple look so grotesque that I wouldn't be surprised if they had coffins for beds. Well, first of all, The Descendant and Straw Dogs, Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs, or did they remake that? I hope you watched the original with Dustin Hoffman. And the Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro's is great, but also the original is classic film noir. But I'm glad you saw the movies and dug them. So that's amazing. And yeah, I got to see X, but yeesh, they probably do have coffins for beds, like vampires. Jessica Quintel sends in a tip. It says, hey, John Campea and the gang, love your show. The two movies I'm personally excited about this year is Netflix's The Bubble and Elvis. I know Netflix doesn't always put out great movies, but the trailer of The Bubble looks great. That's Judd Apatow's new film that is set during the time of COVID and about a movie crew trying to make a movie. And yes, you are correct. It does look like a heck of a lot of fun. I can't wait to see it. And Elvis, I mean, we've talked about it on the show. How good does that look? I'm a big Baz Luhrmann fan. Look, I even liked Australia. And of course, the Red Curtain trilogy, isn't it? It's Shall We Dance, Romeo and Juliet, and Moulin Rouge. Big fan of Baz Luhrmann, and it looks great. I mean, it really, really looks good. So I'm stoked, man. I want to see it, Jessica. So both of those movies I want to see. They both look good. I think you're absolutely right. Derek Evan sends in a tip. Hi, John and Rob. It's my 52nd birthday on March 29th, which was yesterday. I just want to say I love the show. Been watching since 2020. Fans of Chris, Ray, and Aaron as well. Keep up the great work and bring on the filthy. Well, first of all, congratulations on your 52nd birthday. May your next twirl around the sun be your very best yet, and filled, of course, with the John Campea crew and John himself, of course. And Derek, thanks for the support of the channel. And I hope you had the very happiest of birthdays, and we will endeavor to keep up the good work. Ray sends in a tip and says, G.I. Jane is on sale for $7.99 on Vudu. Coincidence? I think not. Man, I'm sure it's getting a lot of downloads because it's not bad. And Demi Moore, I mean, again, bald women look hot. And you know what? I got to say, to be honest, I'll bet you it would not surprise me at all to know that Chris Rock probably might not have known Jada had alopecia or wasn't thinking about it at the time. I think he looked over at her because, look, a G.I. Jane joke is not exactly the most topical joke in the world. I mean, G.I. Jane's, 25 years old? So I think that's probably the first thing that popped into his mind. It was kind of like Chris Rock's dad joke. And I don't think he meant it to be the way Will Smith thought he meant it to be, or Jada, but clearly there was a lot going on there. I could be wrong. You know what? I don't know. It's a tough call. Tough call. Lone Wolf says, greetings and salutations, John. What's your thoughts on the gatekeepers in Hollywood canceling Nate Parker in 2016 for a rape case from his college days, and then finally inviting him to be back at the Oscars this year? Well, Lone Wolf, listen. I knew more about that story now than or back then. When I first heard about it, I forget how it all panned out. But was he convicted? Did he serve time? I'm not sure. But here's my thoughts. I'll give you my personal thoughts on our justice system. Our justice system believes that if you are convicted of a crime, if you are accused of a crime, and via a jury of your peers convicted of that crime, and you serve your time, you go to jail, you do whatever the law says you should do, and you complete that time. In my mind, and the way our justice system works, obviously felons have problems, like they can't vote, things like that. But for the most part, if you've served your time for the crime that you've committed, I think you should be able to move on with your life. I'm not sure where. I didn't even know that. This is the first time I've heard that Nate Parker was there. I don't know what the disposition of him is or how that all played out. But, you know, you can't, what if any of us who are convicted, or any of us that do something wrong, if we're never absolved of our sins and we have to carry them around, people carry around guilt with them their whole lives. But if you go through our legal system and you are convicted and you serve your time, I believe that you should be allowed to move on with your life because you've paid your debt to society. You shouldn't have to go on and pay it for the rest of your life. Anyway, that's just me. But I don't know if Nate Parker, I don't know where that's at. So the Sock said, I was going to rewatch Saving Private Ryan to commemorate my younger brother going into the Army. I'll be joining him eventually, but then I remembered that it doesn't go fantastic for his brothers. Yeah, no. Saving Private Ryan, although it is a great movie when it deals with bravery and gallantry under fire, but it's a terrific film. I mean, I do think it's a terrific film, but it does deal with the horrors of war. So congratulate your younger brother going into the Army, though, and one of my very best friends in the world is a Green Beret, former Green Beret. Now he's an ER doctor, and he was a Green Beret medic, and it led to his career in medicine, and he's saved so many lives. So I think that going into the military teaches you discipline, and there's a lot to be learned there, and it helps you prepare for a career outside the military. Mike went into the military right after high school, and did his 4 years, stayed in the reserves, and also then went right to medical school. So congratulations on your brother, and if you're going to go in and follow him into the military, congratulations to you too, and thank you for your service. But when you're in the military, make the most of it, because the military here can really help you prepare for later in life, and maybe you'll find out things about yourself there that you didn't know, or a career path that you might not have expected. So there you go. Mark Netau says, so when does Soylent Green go on sale? With everything happening this year, I wouldn't be surprised if it did show up. You know what, Mark? I have an original Soylent Green a 6 sheet, which is 81 inches by 81 inches. It's 6 feet by 6 feet. An original poster. I love Soylent Green. It's a little dated. Of course, women in that movie are actually literally called furniture. I kid you not. So it's a crazy movie. And I still love it, but it's dated, but it's really interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised either. We have Soylent, but Soylent Green, would anybody actually sell a real product called Soylent Green? Because if they did, I would find that amusing. By the way, if you guys have never seen Soylent Green, it's worth a look. It was one of 3 science fiction films Charlton Heston starred in the late 60s, early 70s. One was of course, Planet of the Apes, and he cameoed in Beneath Planet of the Apes. And then The Omega Man, which was the second adaptation of the novel I Am Legend. Will Smith starred in the third, Vincent Price starred in the first. And then, of course, Soylent Green, where he plays a detective in the future that has global warming and no food and all that. So it's definitely something worth seeing. All 3 of those movies, Planet of the Apes, Planet of the Apes, The Omega Man, and Soylent Green would make a great Charlton Heston triple feature if you're bored on a Sunday afternoon. Transformers Review Zombie sends in a tip and says, hi, John. Been following since the Collider days. I recently saw an old video that was dug up and posted online where you're doing a review for Transformers and you say that word when referring to hood people. Never seen it addressed. Was this just a mistake? Well, Transformer Review Zombie, I think John regrets saying that. I know that he's talked about it in the past before. I don't want to speak for him, but yeah, that was quite a gaffe, but I don't want to make excuses, but maybe because he's from Canada, he didn't understand that was a very bad thing to say. But he has definitely been remorseful and regretful ever since. Ever since. But I want to thank you. You know what? It's always good to address these things and remember what you've said. If you've said things that were wrong and offensive and hurtful, it's always, sometimes you need to be reminded of them. Stel McShave says, I don't think the possible 3-year non-eligibility for winning an Academy Award will affect Will Smith's probability of winning. I can't see him winning for the next 3 years, no matter how great of a performance he gives. The symbolism of it, however, is important. I agree, Stubble. You're absolutely right. There's got to be some kind of consequences, and it can't just be a slap on the wrist. That was really terrible. For whatever reason, say it was bad or all the way around, it was really terrible. It should never have happened, and there must be consequences. So, absolutely. Stubble McShaves goes on to say, Stubble, you shouldn't trust the IMDb for unreleased movies, but there was information on a Madam Web movie that referenced a trade article in 2019. It was said that the same writer duo that wrote Morbius is writing the Madam Web movie. If true, what are your thoughts? Yeesh, I would say. Morbius is not doing well in the reviews. We shall know. I think the review embargo would be broken now because I saw a review on Deadline. I haven't read it yet. Didn't seem great. Which is a bummer. Digital Ronin sends in a tip and says, hey, Rob, huge fellow Moon Knight fan. All right. Very excited for tonight. Wanted to toss my fan cast here after seeing you talk on 1/6 Scale Man last night about him. Adam Driver as Dr. Doom. Ooh, Digital Ronin. I like that idea. First of all, how great was Moon Knight? At least, look, it wasn't the Moon Knight I necessarily recognized from the comics I read, 40 years ago. But it was an interesting amalgamation of the entire Moon Knight mythos. And, was it Duchamp on the phone? Frenchie, man. Frenchie's out there. Frenchie's Mark Spector's right-hand man. They fought together, mercenaries together. There were so many cool things in that. I loved it so much, and we'll see where it goes. So I was excited. But Adam Driver as Dr. Doom, I like that, although it's a bit kind of typecasting after, of course, Kylo Ren. But still, not bad. Although I always saw Dr. Doom as more. I still see Adam Driver. I know he's not a kid, but I still see him as young. And I always saw Dr. Doom as being a little bit older. But not bad casting. I could see him. Although I think it would be hard for him to break free of the Kylo Ren persona. That's just me. Saigo sends in a tip and says, hi from Montreal. Hooked to your channel since the Shang-Chi hype. How do you feel about more and more Asian representation on screen? Shang-Chi, Everything Everywhere, Crazy Rich Asians, John Wick 4 definitely brought Asian Canadians back to the movies. Where Saigo, I have to tell you, I grew up in Seattle. We had a large Asian community there. I have always loved Asian cinema. I've watched kung fu movies, Japanese science fiction, the explosion of Korean cinema over the last 25 years. I have always loved everything Asian, particularly Asian women, but not in a weird yellow fever kind of a way. Ever since I saw a Japanese woman dressed as an alien from Planet 10 in Godzilla versus Monster Zero, I've had a thing for Asian women. But I like Asian movies. There's a different sensibility to them. I love Asian horror. I love Asian crime thrillers. I love Kurosawa movies. So I've been watching Asian cinema for most of my life. But you're talking about something else. You're talking about representation, like you said, Canadian representation, Canadian Asian representation, which I think is great. We haven't had enough of that. And I thought that Simu Liu, he did great. I thought he was great. And him and Awkwafina, their friendship, that was the heart and soul of Shang-Chi. I loved it. And I think it's great. And obviously, Canada has a huge Asian population. A lot of Chinese came to Canada to invest and to move there. And I think it's great. In my mind, there can't be enough Asians in movies. So, yeah, I think it's awesome. And thanks, by the way, for watching the channel and supporting it. Jack G says, hi, I just want to recommend a YouTube video called The Movies That Made Me. The interviewer, Allie Plum, asks great questions, and the interviews are really well edited. Once you start with one, you'll watch more. Have you seen any of these interviews? I have not, Jack G, but I love stuff like that. I hope I don't fall. Like, there's the movies that made us on Netflix that I really love. Those documentaries are great about the making of some famous films, but I like seeing people talk about what movies they influenced them or meant something to them. I always think that's great. I love that. So I definitely watch that. Jake says, hi, John. Not sure if you've covered this yet. I saw an article about Elden Ring being expanded beyond a game. It sold over 12 million copies in less than a month with multiple 10 out of 10 reviews. What are your thoughts on this? Well, first of all, what is it? Horizon East, Horizon West, that and Elden Ring. I haven't heard as much buzz about games in a long time. I think it's great. Look, I really want to play Elden Ring. I've heard it's really difficult though, but that doesn't bother me. I have no problem with difficult video games. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it. I want to play it. I need to get it. The last game I bought for my PlayStation 5, I got Guardians of the Galaxy and the Final Fantasy 7. What is it? The remake? What is it? Final Fantasy 7, which I've been playing. It's good. But yeah, I definitely want to get Elden Ring, and I think it's great. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they expand and make, now that we've got Uncharted. I didn't think Uncharted was great, but it didn't suck and it made money. So between that and the Halo series, if it does well, maybe we're going to reach a video game renaissance. Wouldn't that be cool? So we shall see. Louis T. Media says, hey, John and Rob. I personally feel Sony may have made a mistake by not releasing Morbius at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home hype like originally planned. I think it could have been used to help propel Morbius, not to mention the lukewarm reviews. Thoughts? Bring on the filthy. Well, perhaps that's why they moved it, because they knew it wasn't as good as they'd hoped. And judging by the reviews that we're getting, it's not great, which is a bummer. But you might be right about that if they could have rolled in on the No Way Home hype. But you know what? It also might have diminished that hype because it wasn't good. And that's never a good thing. I don't like it when any movie is not good. It gives me no pleasure when movies turn out to be not as good as they should. It really bums me out. So, yeah. What can I say? Dr. Michael Moore BS sends in a tip and says, just my opinion, I don't like the first Venom. I hated the second one. It was like stepping barefoot in dog poo, but everything I'm hearing with Vulture is sad. I feel like Sony is trying so hard to connect Morbius to the MCU canon, and continuity be damned. Well, I too am not. Look, for me, the Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage were just goofy. I don't like goofy. Goofy doesn't sit well with me. Although I did find it somewhat amusing. I didn't think it really fit. I know a lot of people like Venom. John certainly takes a lot of pleasure from those movies, and that's fine. I know a lot of people who do. I didn't think it was dog poo. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't what I was interested in. But what can you do? I think they are trying, but the thing is, according to early word on Morbius, they haven't tried hard enough, because Morbius apparently just isn't very good, and I don't know what they're going to do after that. So you got to earn it. Just because you have one successful movie doesn't mean everything that is in your universe, every movie's different. You cannot rest on your laurels. You have to make sure that every movie you make is a win. You don't want you do not want movies. You don't want to have a failure, man, because that would suck. And it seems like Morbius, they're going to be answering for that one, because it seems like it's going to be a bomb. A Bomberooski, Lama, or Lam, what is it? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But if it's not good, I hate it when movies aren't good. So I'm bummed. I'm really kind of bummed about this, to be honest. Connor Edison sends in a tip and says, hey guys, been watching the show since its conception, and it's awesome to see how far y'all have come. Well, thank you. My question is, what do you guys like to do in your free time that isn't movie or TV related? Thanks for the years of good content. Well, Connor, that's a really good question. I mean, to be honest, I like to drink. And not in a bad way. I mean, I love bars. Not to get all hammered. I just like going to bars. I like the atmosphere. You know, people are more open. I have lots of interesting conversations with other bar patrons or the bartenders, and I like the kind of watching people come and go from bars. It's like sitting at airports. I like to sit at airports. I don't go do it as much as I go sit at bars, but when I travel, you know, I like to go to an airport like hours in advance to hang out at the airport, because I do like to watch people go to and fro. But look, I like snow skiing. I love traveling. I love going places that I've never been before. I always think of them as, you know, going out to an alien planet, going to Europe. You're going to an alien planet, to an alien culture, to meet alien people, hopefully hot alien women too. Well, not now, because I have a girlfriend and a significant other, so I don't do that. I wouldn't do that on her, but that's, you know, I that's what I like. I read a lot too. I guess that's entertainment related. I you know, there's stacks of books in my bathroom because I'm always taking books into the bathroom. I live with 3 women, and if I go into the bathroom, nobody bothers me, and there's a lot of light in there, so it's a great place to read. Because when you walk out of the bathroom, it's like, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? But in the bathroom, nobody bothers you. So I can sit there for a good 45 minutes or an hour and read, and then eventually someone's going to be like, what are you doing in there? I'm like, what are you, my mother? But yeah, those are the kind of things I like to do. And I appreciate your enjoyment of the content and your support. Caleb M. says, I've recently been binge watching movies and I'm up to 50 in a month. Wow. I have found some movies I absolutely loved, which I'd never heard of. Hacksaw Ridge, The Social Network, The Terminal. Ray Ora is going to love that you said The Terminal. And Focus. Ooh, Focus. I love Focus. What are 3 movies, in your opinion, which are must-watches? Ooh, that's good. I'll give you a few movies that I love. I'm going to give you some classic films. All About Eve, Sunset Boulevard, and Double Indemnity. Those are all 3 black and white movies that I think are great, that have great stories. Other movies I'd recommend, if you have not seen The Shawshank Redemption, one of the great movies of all time. Almost Famous is a movie I love. Almost Famous, and watch the longer director's version. And let's see, what's another good one? Well, if you hadn't seen Social Network, have you seen Fight Club? That's another David Fincher movie. Check that out, because that's pretty surprising. By the way, don't read anything about Fight Club. Just watch it if you haven't seen it. Mike G sends a tip and says, I get why people love Man of Steel. For me, I don't need that much postmodernism or pathos and anguish with my Superman. Was hoping for the all-star version, not one so removed from compassion and altruism. I like it more lately, though, and I want more Cavill soups. Yeah, well, you know, I'll tell you, I totally get what you're saying. Look, I don't know if you've ever read the DC graphic novel, Superman for All Seasons. I would love to adapt that in that book form, you know, every spring, summer, winter, fall, whatever. Now, it would be a hard sell, but I think that could be a wonderful movie. If you got somebody like a Frank Darabont to come in and direct a Superman for All Seasons, it'd be totally different kind of Superman movie, but I think it would be amazing if it was done correctly. Hard to do, but if it was done correctly, I think it could be wonderful. And it's more along the lines of what you're talking about, I think. But I want more Cavill soups as well. Agree. Ari, 1 of 2. Hi, John and Rob. Longtime fan. Just wanted to say, hey, John, we have a lot in common. I'm also an early 50s nerd, self-made, also married to a wonderful Filipina. Therefore, I also got the package deal with relatives like Ray. But whenever you have a disagreement with Rob, I agree with Rob. Ari, I did not pay you. I did not pay Ari to say this. I agree with Rob. Rob, your taste is so much like mine. Who talks about Vampiros Lesbos by Jess Franco? By the way, the soundtrack for Vampiros Lesbos, which is on Spotify. If you guys ever have not heard of Vampiros Lesbos, it is a Jess Franco movie. You got to check it out. I have the Blu-ray. But listen to the music. The score for it. It's great. You got to listen to it. But yes, Ari, you and I park our shuttlecrafts in the same shuttle bay, my friend. Loves James Bond, listens to metal music. I thought I was alone. Anyway, keep it up, guys. Well, Ari, I'll tell you something. it sounds like you and I grew up watching. There's a whole world of movies that came out in the late 60s and 70s, European horror, exploitation, sci-fi films that a lot of people just don't know about. You know, and Jess Franco is one of those directors that a lot of people don't know, especially the audience who watches the John Campea Show. It is an acquired taste. I'm a big fan of, there's a director named Radley Metzger who made like softcore porn films, and then he moved over to hardcore pornography, and he changed his name to Henry Paris. But he made a really interesting movie. It's an erotic film, but it's called The Licorice Quartet. And if you're a Vampiros Lesbos fan, look up The Licorice Quartet. I have that on Blu-ray too, but it's interesting. And you and I, we do have the same taste. So Ari, good to hear from you, sir. Liam sends in a $20 tip. Thank you, Liam. Appreciate that. Got to see an advanced screening of The Lost City due to having the equivalent of AMC A-List here in Ireland. Not a movie I probably would have gone to see without it, but man, was that a surprisingly funny movie, packed full of charm and charisma. Now for Morbius. Well, you know what, Liam? Sometimes, I mean, movies don't have to change your life or change the world you live in. Sometimes, like you said, they just have to be entertaining and surprisingly funny. And you got your money's worth. And sometimes, I mean, you know, I have a feeling, I mean, as movie lovers, sometimes when we get these films, I mean, I get it. Sometimes I want my life to change when I've seen these movies, but sometimes it's just enough that they're entertaining. So I'm right there with you, sport. And Liam, thanks for supporting the channel in that manner. And God, you know, I have a dream of coming to Ireland. I literally wanted to walk around the entire country and stop at every distillery and meet Irish people, because every Irish person I've met, I've loved. So I want to go to the source, Ireland. I have a little Irish blood in me. And it's very funny. The first time I was ever in London, I was there to interview Christopher Lee, and I was in the Dorchester Hotel, and somebody stumbles in. It was like 6:30 in the morning. Guy stumbles in, clearly wasted, clearly drunk, and he looks at me and he's like, "Are you Irish?" And I was like, "Excuse me? Oh, you Irish? You have a great big ruddy Irish face." And he pinched my cheeks, and then the elevator door opened and he stumbled out, and he's like, "Good to meet you, mate." And that was not great Irish accent, but that's what happened. That's a true story. How can you not love Irish people? So Liam, and you've got a great Irish name. I've always loved the name Liam. Oh, someone's trying to call me while I'm recording this. I can't take the call. Dangerous D sends in a tip and says, "Hi, John and Rob. Steven Spielberg's still looking to develop the DC Comics Blackhawks. An interview with Collider writer David Koepp says the project's still alive. They finished the script and it's ready. They're just waiting for things to settle down in the Warner Brothers Discovery merger." Dangerous D, I would love it if Spielberg made a Blackhawk movie. I actually have, they put out G.I. Joe figures, but Blackhawk versions. So I've got the Blackhawk figure and the enemy ace, the enemy, the German pilot is the villain. I would love to see them make a Blackhawk movie. Bring it on. How awesome would that be? It would be very awesome. I hope they make that movie. I really do. Love to see it. The Nerd Gen sends in $50. My God, the Nerd Gen. Oh, $50 tip. Thank you so much. That is very generous of you to support the channel in that fashion. Hello, guys. Fascinating is the adjective I would use to describe Oscar Isaac's performance. Loser. You feel sorry for him. Totally oblivious. When he arrives at these fearful extremes, then someone has to take over. Your thoughts? Well, first of all, Nerd Gen, thanks for the support. Look, I agree with you. I thought Oscar Isaac's performance was fantastic. I mean, you know, not to take away from the performances of anybody else that has been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or in their shows, but a movie star brings a certain level of acting prowess usually. And Oscar Isaac, I've loved Oscar Isaac since A Most Violent Year. I loved him in the Coen Brothers Inside Llewyn Davis. I'm a huge Oscar Isaac fan. I loved him in Alex Garland's Ex Machina as the sort of crazy cyberneticist. I love Oscar Isaac, and I thought his performance was just great. And when Stephen Grant when he's taken over by Mark Spector. We're going to see, of course, more of that. I cannot wait to see where it goes. It's not the Moon Knight that I grew up with, or even the Moon Knight that I was expecting to get. It's something entirely different, but I did really love it. I thought the show was great, really enjoyed it, and it's going to be really interesting to see where it goes. So we shall see. Devin says, hey, John and crew, big fan from North Carolina. Been watching for a couple of years now. Watched the first episode of Moon Knight. I loved it. So far, so good. Thought it was very well done. Your thoughts? What was your favorite aspect and scene so far? Thanks. Back to the bring on the filthy. Back to the future. Bring on the filthy. You know, I love the whole thing, but I have to say, I loved how they dealt with that whole the action scene in the car chase, the way he was snapping in and out of being Stephen Grant and Mark Spector, and we didn't know. Like, Mark Spector would do the dirty work, and then suddenly Stephen Grant would take over and be like, what the hell is this? I'm going backwards in a van. I mean, it was crazy shite. I loved it so much. And, of course, I know what happened at the end of the episode. I loved seeing him, even though we'd seen it in the trailers. I loved seeing him be Moon Knight. I loved that the image of Khonshu. I loved seeing Ethan Hawke and the conversations he was having. I loved it. I have to say, I love the whole thing. I thought it was different than I thought again, but I really loved how it was done. Yeah. Devin, I think you doubled up on this one, but Devin, thank you for that. Brett V says, Chris, yesterday you got upset by some for the disgusting comments from some of the other listeners. I just want to say, screw them. Don't let shit people bother you. Karma is a bitch. You're wonderful and love you on the show. Yeah, Brett, I have to say, I think Chris, I think she's smart, delightful, talented, beautiful, but mostly very, very smart and empathetic. And I am a huge fan of Chris Carr. Huge fan of her. And I think, her measured takes on things are quite good. And, when someone attacks a woman, for having a good time on a show, it's rather offensive. And you can see kind of the roots of where Will Smith was coming from. I'm not saying his actions justified, but if you have a friend, and especially a female friend, I mean, I think there is a biological imperative inside us as men that we do have a biological imperative to protect not just women, but also children and other men, other parts of our tribe. That's kind of how we're hardwired through evolution. So I appreciate what you have to say. Karma is a bitch, and people do get what's coming to them. You put something out into the world, it's gonna come back to you. But it's nice to hear you say nice things about Chris Carr, because she deserves it. She's amazing. B. Wayne, New York, says, hey guys, so I've always liked Ezra Miller as the Flash, but he clearly is a guy with problems. What the hell? Privileges. Till now, he's been lucky, but wait till he pulls that shit on a girl with Ronda Rousey's skills, and she wrecks this fool. Maybe then he'll get the message. Look, man, B. Wayne, I am with you. I don't condone violence, but sometimes, if you're going to act that way, one day someone's going to wreck your shop. You're going to go too far, and you had it coming, man. And that's never a good thing. I don't like to see people get hurt, but at some point things just go down, and it ain't good. It ain't good. I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope he gets the help he needs. But clearly this kind of behavior is out of control. I don't know why. I don't presume to know why, but it's not good. It's unfortunately not good, and I do hope that Ezra Miller gets the help he deserves and needs. John Henry says, John, I can't, I think you meant to say I can't. I can't believe you lived at the Poinsettia Apartments. That was my apartment building when I moved to LA to go to the film and recording school. That was 2018 to 2020, so I doubt that you were there still. No, he wasn't. He was living in Burbank. Just thought that was funny. Jeff, it's funny because there are For those of you who don't know, if you ever move to Los Angeles with dreams of working in the entertainment business, there are areas that a lot of people begin their LA journey. And Sunset and La Brea and being in and around Hollywood, there's a lot of people that got their start in and around those apartments. They've built a lot of new apartments, so they're a lot more expensive now. And those older apartments that a lot of us lived in have been renovated, and they're expensive now too. But I think a lot of people, it's so funny to hear you say that, Jeff, because, you know, I love meeting people where you can commiserate. Were you a Seventh Veil patron? But it's always nice to meet people that are that had that experience. You know, I mean, I always like that. It's fun to meet people like, you lived in that building. Like, I lived in a building on Kenmore between Franklin and Hollywood Boulevard in what's called Los Feliz. And so many people lived in that building. We called it the Kenmore Clubhouse. And I had friends, we lived there. I lived in that building for 5 years, and people came and went, and yeah, it's fun. I mean, Hollywood, it's all one big club when you first move here. I don't know how it is now. It's been a long time since I was young. But Jeff Henry, that's funny to hear that. Simon sends in a tip and says, regarding Ezra, at first I was going to say that he could possibly be bipolar. That is true. But nah, the right thing for Ezra is to check in and get help, and for the studios not to cast him. What is going on in Hollywood? First Will, now Ezra. Well, I think it's a lot of us. Look, I'm not condoning behavior, but it has been a rough 2 years for a lot of people. It's been really crazy out there. The world has been changing. The way people are, it's nuts. It really is nuts. And I think sometimes people go a little nuts. Certainly, and people are snapping. I don't know what's going on with Ezra Miller. He seems to have been traveling cross country. I know he's probably doing a lot of press for Fantastic Beasts, or he's just trying to hide out. I don't know what goes on there. Like, he was staying with these people and then he assaulted them because he was high or drunk or both or whatever. Look, I just hope the man gets the help he needs. I really do. Because it's weird. But I don't think there's any excuse, to be honest. Ethan Holgate is here. Hi, John and Rob. I've got to say, I'm a fan of Ezra Miller, and I think he's a great actor, and I love him as the Flash. But I really hope fame isn't getting to his head. This is the third incident now, and I'm just like, come on, man, what the hell are you doing? Well, if you include that weird video he put on, Twitter or Instagram, it might have been the fourth, and there might be incidents that we don't know about. Look, I think we all hope that he gets the help he deserves or needs, because it's not good. Not good. So there's really no excuse. And what he did, pretty extreme. So not great. Not great. And again, I wish him the best, and I hope that he's able to get past this. I really do. Stub McShave says, a possibility on the Ezra Miller situation. What if Ezra was replaced before he abused the people, and that's why they pushed the movie to 2023? If he reacted badly to being replaced, that could explain, not excuse, his behavior. Either way, he needs help. Stubble, we were thinking about that, but I if that happened, I don't know if we wouldn't have heard about it. I don't know if they would do it in secret. I mean, Warner Brothers has a big problem, but here's the thing. Everyone likes a comeback story, and if he throws himself on the mercy of the court, he gets the help he needs, and he comes out and says, look, I had a problem, and I needed to get help, and I profusely apologize and, make amends, as they do in Alcoholics Anonymous. I think, unfortunately, that's what he's going to have to do, no matter what. So, yeah, it's very bizarre to me, really strange. I don't presume to understand any of it. I really don't. Chris W. says, I think Ezra will still star in The Flash, but it will be his last time. Warner Brothers will pull a Doctor Who and have the Speed Force change The Flash into a new version of himself at the very end of the movie. No major reshoots needed, cheap and semi-clean. Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, if he has a contract, they might have to pay him out for it. And look, as John is fond of saying, winning cures everything. And look, he's going to have to make amends. No doubt about it. Some way, shape, or form, he's going to have to make amends. He's just going to have to, because what he's done is too extreme. I mean, threats and craziness, and I mean, this is Mel Gibson level wacky, weird ranting and threatening people's lives. I mean, what? I mean, a sane, normal person doesn't do that. And I don't know if he was in the grips of drugs or alcohol or whatever, but he really needs to address these issues. I mean, he went to jail and he had a he went to jail, and the people that got him out of jail filed a restraining order against him days later. This is crazy shite, craziness, and let's hope he does get the help that he needs. I hope so, because I too, I've always liked Ezra Miller. We talked about it on the show today. I really like Fantastic Beasts, and I really do hope he cleans it all up. Joe Starr sends in a tip and says, I'm a regal guy. Now, does that mean you're a regal man? A regal guy? No, I understand. You're a regal theater guy. I'm a regal guy. Wednesday, April 6th is my first AMC showing at Dolby Atmos for the fan screening of Sonic 2 in Tustin. I can't wait to hate watch the Nicole Kidman AMC commercial. Joe Starr, you know what? I feel like when you go to an AMC theater and if you watch this show and you watch us for a long enough time, you can't not love the Nicole Kidman AMC commercial, right? I mean, when you see it, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. It's how can you not? It's the Nicole Kidman AMC commercial. Heartbreak feels good in a place like this. That line alone. I mean, I love the fact that heartbreak for all of us is never good, but somehow AMC has taken that notion that heartbreak is a bad thing. Well, not when you're in an AMC theater. Heartbreak feels good in a place like this. Well, first of all, I think you're going to like your first experience in a Dolby Atmos theater. And second of all, I'll be thinking of you when you watch that fan screening of Sonic 2. I'll be thinking of you hate watching Nicole Kidman. I never thought, by the way, I mean, I'm a huge Nicole Kidman fan. I think she's beautiful. I never thought that I would ever live in a world where you would hate watch Nicole Kidman, but here we are. Here we are. What a crazy life we lead, isn't it? But tell us, write back in and tell us what you think of the movie. Now, we're at the end. This is the last. Nate Dogg is the last question, the last tip for today's mailbag. Nate Dogg says, how do you think the Ezra thing will affect the box office for Fantastic Beasts 3? Because I'll be honest, I'm not going to see that movie now because I don't want to see Ezra on the big screen. His actions sicken me. I can't watch him. Well, Nate Dogg, totally understandable. I mean, I would look at it this way. A lot of people, hundreds of people worked on that movie. Now, if you want to see it, I would say go. Even though that Ezra Miller's in it, and I completely appreciate your point of view, that his actions sicken you, and they sicken me, quite frankly. But, you know, that movie is the result of so many talented people working, and he's just one small part of it. And if you wanted, or you're interested, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you're interested in those movies, you know, I would hate that you deprive yourself of a film that looks to be quite good. And remember, I mean, maybe you could justify it by thinking maybe at the time Ezra hadn't done these things, and maybe something happened in his personal life that he's not dealing with very well. I don't know. I don't want to make excuses for him. But I would just say that I completely understand your position. But it does look good. Of course, it's a personal choice, and I would never begrudge you not seeing the film. And it's a question. It's a question that I have to tell you, I grapple with myself, because there's movies that I love that have people in them that have done bad things, or were directed by people that have done bad things. And where does the art and the artist, where is that demarcation point? And I think it's a question that we all grapple with. Can you separate the art from the artist? And I think it's difficult. I really do, and I think it's difficult for everybody. And it's an interesting thought exercise, thought experiment, and it's also, you know, a question of personal morality as well. So you have to do what's right for you. And I would never begrudge you that. I want to thank you for supporting the channel, and it's a question that I think needs to be asked, and I appreciate you for asking it. Now, this has brought me to the end of the mailbag. If you want to have your questions, what is that? I was going to say question. If you want to have your questions read live by myself or John or the two of us, you can always send in a tip 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, link is below, to us, and we will answer them on the mailbag. If you choose to, while the show is live between 10 and 12:30 Pacific time, you can send us a super chat that will be read live on the show. But the way we do super chats now is we only leave the super chats on at the beginning of the hour, because we want to get through every super chat that we get live on the show. These mailbag questions come from our tip line, and they're available to you 24/7. So know that. I want to thank everybody for generously supporting this channel. John Campea and everyone at the channel, Ray, Aaron, Chris, myself, I'm sure Ann too, even though she doesn't come on much. I don't think I've ever streamed with Ann Campea, but she's delightful too. We all thank you for supporting the channel in the way that you do. So thanks very much. I'm Robert Meyer Burnett. You can find me here, or you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work. Once again, everyone, thank you for supporting the channel via this episode of Mailbag. Thanks a lot.